Well, Governor Mary Fallin was one of the first speakers at the Republican National Convention Tuesday night. Fallin mocked President Barack Obama as someone who believes the government drives success while countering that Oklahomans make their own way, first by staking their claims on the prairie and then by poking holes in it to find oil. Now, Fallin's speech at the Tampa Bay Times Forum came just a couple hours after delegates at the Republican National Convention officially nominated Mitt Romney for president and Representative Paul Ryan for vice president. The former Massachusetts governor will make his formal acceptance speech on Thursday. The Oklahoman's Chris Casteel is joining us via phone from Tampa to tell us more about the GOP convention. Thank you so much for joining us, Chris.
You bet. Glad to do it.
Yes. Now, is the convention going as planned so far and doing what Republicans hoped it would?
Well, Angie, it's obviously been kind of a mixed bag for them. You know, they had to cancel most of the first day because of what was then Tropical Storm Isaac that was, supposed to come close to here. So they lost, pretty much a full day. And, there have been some other bumps, some controversy with the Ron Paul delegates, and that's been, an issue for the Oklahoma Republican delegation as well, with some of the Ron Paul delegates yesterday not casting their votes for Mitt Romney as they were supposed to. But and then last night, a huge snafu with trying to get all of the delegates from the various states back to their hotels. There are all kinds of security issues with the shuttle buses. Some of the Oklahomans didn't get back to the hotel till 3 a.m., about 4 hours after the convention program. But these things are tough. They're tough logistically. Sure. And the main thing for the party, what they're trying to do, and the candidates is to get the message out on TV.
Yeah.
And they had their first night of that last night, and I think some of the speeches are getting pretty good reviews, others mixed reviews. So at the end, the big speeches are still coming up. You've got Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney still to go. So
yes,
that's really what this thing's all about.
Yes. Now, what about Ann Romney's impact? She spoke as well.
Right, her speech went over really well in the hall last night. The crowd, which can be kind of restless at times, was really quiet. For it got applause in all the right places, and but obviously it was meant for TV, and how it came across there, to all the independent voters, or the undecided voters, I should say, undecided and independent voters in these swing states. Her job last night, as we know, was to quote, try to humanize Mitt Romney, for let people kind of know that the more personal side of him. And I thought she telling about their marriage, telling about their early days, and then talking about his successes at the various endeavors, what was her attempt to do that. And as I said, I think it'll just have to unfold over the next few days and weeks. Over whether she was able to help give him the depth that the campaign wanted her to. Yes,
and so that people won't see him quite as the stiff that sometimes he can be portrayed. I know he can be a little bit, I'm not sure, but what do you think about that? It just very proper, and do you feel like it's hard for people to relate?
I think a lot of times it is with candidates. I just think there are just some candidates that are naturally kind of people. I would say Ronald Reagan would be one of those, and Bill Clinton, who just come across very naturally. They can speak naturally, and it sounds, just like you're talking to people. But it's not everybody can do it, and I think there are some kinds of some people apparently. According to Mrs. Romney, Mitt Romney does not like to talk about some, things that he has done to help people. He just doesn't think that's right. Like it's almost bragging. You don't want to make a political issue about things that you've done. But
he's humble.
As I say, I mean, it's just hard for some people to kind of convey, whatever it is that makes people relate to you as a person.
Right.
When you're giving a stump speech or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a rare quality, and it's one that when you do find it, like Bill Clinton and Ronald Reagan, those kind of people wind up serving a couple terms.
I know it. Now, Paul Ryan is speaking tonight, and of course he's got an Oklahoma connection. What are the expectations for him tonight?
This, I know it's a cliche to say. Okay, it seems to get said about almost everybody at these conventions. It's the biggest speech of his life, right? Well, it is. It's absolutely the biggest speech of his life, and it's going to be different. I think 4 years ago, the Republican vice presidential candidate was somebody, Sarah Palin, who nobody knew anything about, and there were a lot of questions about her, and the expectation, the need for her to give a big speech was just
right.
It was very important for her to do well. And it is for Ryan too, even though he's been known and his name has been connected with the Republican budget now, these Republican budget proposals for a couple of years now, the Ryan budget. Still, people don't really know who he is, and probably most people have not ever heard him speak. So I think he's going to have to talk tonight, give some of his own background again, and also explain to people where he's coming from on some of these budget proposals, especially related to Medicare and the things that are most associated with the quote Ryan budget. And I think what he's going to have to do is tell people why it's important to look at these federal spending issues that are not only looming but immediate, and do it in such a way that he doesn't alienate people, make them think that he's just trying to to hurt the poor while he's helping the wealthy. So
yeah.
And yes, he does have an Oklahoma connection that gets talked about a lot among the Oklahoma delegates. In fact, his brother came and spoke this morning to the Oklahoma delegates. It was pretty amusing.
Yeah.
He married a woman named Jana Little Ryan, who grew up in Medill, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Daughter, she's from a very prominent family down there, and apparently the Ryans go back there all the time. Paul Ryan is an avid outdoorsman, goes hunting all the time there, and their dogs are named Boomer and Sooner. A lot of people may have heard by now, but his brother told a funny story today about their wedding in Oklahoma City in 2000, which happened to coincide with the Big 12 championship, and which was OU against Kansas State.
Oh, wow.
And so he was talking about how, in one room you've got the wedding reception going on, people are giving toasts, and then in a larger room adjacent to it, there's a big screen TV, and I guess most of the crowd is in there watching the game.
Nice. Oh,
he had to drag him in there to take part in the reception. But
no, I've heard.
And I think we'll see Jana Little Ryan on stage tonight.
Nice.
I would, that's kind of a traditional thing after. One of the nominees gives a speech, their family comes out, so I would think that we would see Jana nice. Tonight, and maybe their 3 children.
Great. Yeah, that's great. What a fun, obviously that's a fun Oklahoma connection. All right, so what's next? Obviously the Democratic National Convention?
Right after this one. They actually had, they begin next week in Charlotte, North Carolina, but they had planned 3-day convention all along. I mean, the Republicans wound up being truncated by the storm, and it turned into 3 days. It was supposed to be 4, but the Democrats had always planned to take off Labor Day Monday, and have just kind of a big festival in Charlotte, which is what they have planned for Monday. But then on next Tuesday, their convention gets underway, and they will spend 3 days countering what everybody has heard from this convention and putting on their own show for the people and trying to convince people that President Barack Obama deserves another term in the White House. So we'll do this all over again. Do
you think there's an advantage for one going first?
That has always been part of the strategy, is that whoever gets to go second gets that bump and more of the momentum going into the last couple months. But what a lot of pollsters say right now, and a lot of the analysts and campaign people, is that these conventions are not going to have the kind of effect that they've traditionally had, because these two have been campaigning really heavily for so long now. The last few months, it's been nothing but Romney and Obama campaigning, that you're basically kind of at a point now where you're just going for those.
Sure.
Everybody knows the candidates. They've heard the issues, they've heard the negative campaigning, and so through these conventions will probably not have the traditional, effect for either party. I mean, something could change about that, but pretty much everybody expects, all the polls have been showing a very narrow race, very tight, 2, 3, 4 points.
Right.
And that's what everybody expects coming out of even the second convention, the Democrats next week, that it'll still be that way.
Now, will you be covering that as well?
I will be heading to Charlotte right after this is over.
Wonderful. Okay, so definitely you guys make sure you check out newsok.com for all of Chris Casteel's articles. Obviously, he's writing a lot about what you need to know in politics, how it affects Oklahoma politics and us as Americans. So keep up with Chris Casteel by newsok.com. Chris, thank you so much.